It was one of the only weekend nights we spent together up at college. I was only 19, and my 4 roommates were older, and they'd always go to the bars and clubs. A late autumn thunderstorm was pummeling us, so, in the spirit of Halloween and being trapped inside for the night, Brooks, the roommate who was into the macabre and horror movies, surprised us with a Ouija board. I'm not going to say it was a stupid mistake, because, honestly, nobody really believes they're actual supernatural conduits. If they were, then the manufacturing plant which produces them would literally be hell on earth. None of us could even really remember much of the session due to heavy alcoholic inebriation. What happened after could have either been just some divine coincidence or related to whatever we apparently conjured up. I can only remember us laughing, and at one point, a candle suddenly began waving back and forth violently without any source of wind. Our hands were steady and motionless. A lark, probably the storm or an electrical current. We eventually watched Terminator 3 and went to sleep. At one point, all of us were awoken by a vicious assault of pelting hail. Eventually, the fire alarm down the hall went off. We just remained in the apartment and took our chances. Luckily, the fireman told us it was likely wiring. The next day, we'd all slept in. I was the second to last out of bed, leaving our friend Mike. Usually, he was the first one up and out the door to the gym, even on the weekends. However, it was now 2:30 p.m., and Brooks went to wake him up, just to see that he was okay. It wasn't but 2 minutes later that Brooks shouted worriedly for the rest of us to join him. At first, we assumed that it was just a joke or a prank. It was positively chilling. Mike simply wasn't moving, despite having a heartbeat and breathing. And, what's worse, his eyes were opened, unblinking, just staring at the ceiling. We tried everything, including perhaps a little cruelly, hitting him with a wet towel. Then screams of his name persisted into his ear. He didn't even jolt when we pinched him. By 3:25, an ambulance arrived. They put him on oxygen and took him away. After 3 hours of waiting, the doctor emerged from down the hallway and nodded for us to stand up. What he said sent collective chills down our spines. He cleared his throat, glanced at the floor, and then back up at us. Okay, so we've looked into multiple possibilities. Supratentorial or infratentorial glioma. Basically what we looked at was a possible injury to the part of the brain responsible for movement and motor skills. An injury would generally be fairly easy to pin down, but CATs and MRIs don't indicate anything. He then asked us if Mike may have hit his head or if he had been sick, to which we answered in the negative. He told us next would be a biopsy. The doctor sent us home after telling us Mike would remain in the hospital for an indeterminate amount of time. We racked our brains to try and think if something had happened to him, but I actually remembered watching Mike get into bed. He hadn't even been awoken by the storm. Naturally, we began assuming the worst. Dominic mentioned aneurysm, but that would cause instant death, so we sadly assumed that it was an undetected brain tumor and that we would have many sad days ahead. That was, until he knocked on our door at 10:30 p.m. that night. Mike walked right past us and didn't say anything. Mystified looks were plastered on all of our faces. He shut the bedroom door, so we went inside and asked him what the hell just happened. He again didn't say anything. We asked him about the hospital. Finally, he snapped. "Would you guys cut the shit? It's been all fucking day. Just leave me alone." We promised him that we weren't messing with him, and he almost literally attacked us after jumping out of bed. "What did happen to you, Mike?" asked Brooks. What he said, I believe, changed every one of us in some small way. In an almost trance-like state of bewilderment, he sat back down on the bed, exhaling and finally relaxing. "I'm not sure what you mean," he said. He noticed the furrowed brows and glances of puzzlement among us. And then he said it. "I thought you guys were playing some prank on me." "What?" "Yeah, I've been here all day, and none of you said a damn thing to me." "What about the hospital?" we asked him. "Hospital?" "Yeah, as in the hospital you've been at all day getting brain scans." "Bullshit." "Why is that bullshit?" "Because when I woke up, all of you were standing around in a half circle in the living room, just staring at me, all fucking day. So I left and went to the lab to do some homework. I just got back." That was it for us. Obviously, Mike just wasn't in a state or mood to be interrogated, so we left him alone for the rest of the night. We all decided to get some rest. The next day, Mike had gone to the gym before we had even woken up, but we did get a call from the hospital. The operator said the biopsy was negative. We were relieved, until she told us that he was being released. Once he walked in, we jumped to our feet. We asked him about everything. He denied being in the hospital, denied coming in and yelling at us the previous night, denied everything, except that he woke up this morning after a bout of terrible nightmares and went to the lab all day. He said he awoke this morning scared out of his wits. He dreamt that the previous morning, we all pulled him out of bed, hissing like snakes and clawing at him with talons. He said in the dream that he ran to the hospital to get his wounds looked at. I got to the hospital and they put me under. When I accidentally woke up in the middle of some surgery, the staff were tearing into my flesh and disemboweling me while I screamed for help. He said he escaped the hospital and ran home as fast as he could, and then woke up. He said vividly, "I didn't think the nightmare would end. It felt like it went on for days." Later on that day, we took the Ouija board into the woods and burned it. When we get together today, almost 15 years later, Mike still insists that he was never in a hospital and that it was all a bad dream. But then, the rest of us theorized that perhaps it was us who had the dream. It disturbed us so badly at the time that we never thought to go to the hospital to get proof of discharge. Even now, I can't say for sure if where I am is reality or still an endless nightmare I'll soon wake up from in 2003. Either way, Ouija boards are no longer on any of our bucket lists. Once was enough. Have you ever wondered where the houses come from? The houses you see every 50 miles on a long road trip. No matter where you are or where you are going, they are always the same. Larger than you could ever afford in the city. Fields of freshly trimmed grass or bountiful fields. The only thing that makes them seem out of place is that the lights are never on, and there is never a car parked beside them. In the daylight, they look like an artist's vision of the good old days, but at dusk, they turn. The windows go black, the shadows become full. They appear dead, but feel alive. Alive and waiting, hungry. The truth is, those dark houses, just like the lonely roads they sit beside, are darker than you can imagine. They are what remained after the work, the laughter, the hope, the life that filled them has disappeared. So when your car breaks down on the side of a lonely road after dark, stay where you are. If you go searching for help, all that is there to greet you is the hungry darkness that consumed everyone who came before. Hey there, campers. Whoa, look at you, surviving horror stories in the middle of the night. I'm impressed. Don't forget to subscribe and share this video with family and friends, because they enjoy nightmares too. But that's all the stories I have for you tonight, campers. Remember, don't be playing with Ouija boards, and don't stop in abandoned houses on the side of the road. Stay haunted, my friends. I'll see you next time.